Good afternoon. It's just 17 minutes after 5 o'clock. I'm Nana Akua. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. It's now time for this week's interview. My guest this week is a remarkable man who went from poverty and homelessness to a multi-million-pound property and successful music business. Not to mention the man behind an award ceremony of which we have a lot to discuss. I'm joined, I'm pleased to say, by entrepreneur and author Charles Gordon. Charles, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
It's good to see you. So tell me a little bit about your story and your journey.
OK, well, where do I start? So I started in business when I was 19 years old. And what I found was, coming from certain backgrounds, a lot of things weren't afforded to me as they were in certain other environments. Working against the odds and doing what we needed to do, it got us to a place in business where by the time I was 21, 22, we'd moved into property development. And we were doing very well, doing very, very well, turning over literally, I think it was a few million a year, but about 23, 24. But in fairness, these were things that I was always led to believe were impossible, coming from a socially economic deprived background, let's say. So, I mean, one of the thought processes for me, and one of the reasons why we went on to do the awards, was to kind of create more entrepreneurs and try and help people understand what can be achieved. And I think in a lot of circumstances, when the odds are stacked against you, they say diamonds are formed in high pressure. So I think there's a lot of people that don't understand what they're capable of. And one of the things that I wanted to do was kind of acknowledge the people that are doing amazing things in our society. And the other aspect was to kind of show other people that it can be done, because I think that was a lot of things that go against us is the fact that we don't believe we can do it. So the mindset was that that's a mindset to me that we needed to try and change.
So were you born in this country? Where were you born?
Yeah, born in South London.
You grew up in South London?
Grew up in South London.
What was that like? What was your growing up like?
Do you know what? I mean, yeah, there's always challenges, I think. I mean, I wasn't from a background with a silver spoon, let's say. And what I found was, because even going into business, psychologically, I think in certain environments, music is an option because you see it. Sports is an option because you see it. Business wasn't an option because I couldn't visualise that for myself, because it wasn't something that I saw. So it was going against the odds, I think, that made it. And that in itself, I think, was a bit of a mind. For me, I think even when I started in business, it was a very stressful period, because subconsciously and psychologically, even I didn't believe I could do it, if that makes sense.
Of course.
And then as I started to achieve it, I was like, well, hold on a minute, I've been lied to.
So you started in business, you went to a normal school in the UK.
Yep.
You started in business,
yep.
And this was in the property side of things? Did you buy a house? Or
no,
the
initial starting was, I started in property lettings and management, actually. So we bought it, literally, I mean, I kind of left home quite early. I was told categorically when I was in school that I was unemployable. So in my mind, subconsciously, I wasn't going to be able to get a job. So I decided the only option that was available to me was to go into business for myself. So then it was a case of, what do I go into business doing? And the biggest thing that you could buy and sell effectively was property. I didn't really see myself as a car salesman, and that was the next one down on the list. So I went in there, I had no idea what I was doing. I opened my office, I negotiated the terms on the lease. It was a small office. And then as I got into it and started to actually rent properties and sell properties and property letting management at the time, it wasn't as hard as I thought it would be. And then as we started going, and I think there's a few simple principles that you need to do, but in business, one of the key things is just dealing with people as you want to be dealt with. And I found that went a very, very long way, and it set the foundations effectively for everything that then followed after. And yeah, it was more about just kind of finding your feet, working out, and then, because I hadn't done it and hadn't had any education in that arena, it was a case of trying to work out the best way forward, the best way to understand it. And it was all about, for me, I did it from a very practical standpoint of customer service and taking care of your customers. And then as a result, the business literally snowballed in a very short space of time.
So you had a rental sort of property business, you were like a letting agent?
Yeah, I was 19.
19?
When I started it, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was good fun.
It was good fun.
Yeah.
So then what happened to that business? Do you still have it? What went?
Yep. Yep, still in the property game. So over the years, I mean, I went in from, I kind of look at business as video games. So I kind of take it on different stages and different levels to qualify. So I think initially we started in lettings and management, then we moved into property sales coming out of the recession. And then from there we moved into property development. So I started buying properties, converting it into flats and so on and so forth. And then moved on to new builds and started building them from the ground up. And just literally, it was just qualifying each stage. And then when I got to the new builds and started doing that, then I was bored. So I needed a new game to play.
Gosh.
So that's when I ventured into the music industry.
So what in the music industry? Talk to me about that.
So it was mainly about developing acts. So what we did is we'd take the act, we'd put the act together, so we'd kind of deal with the styling, the recording and everything else, and then license it onto a major label. So we dealt with a few acts over the years. One of the main ones we did was Big Brothers, and we also dealt with, we created that Booty Love from Big Brothers as well. So we had quite a few success stories in the music game, which was good fun. But it was the property industry is quite an ethical industry where people do what they say they're going to do. The music industry was the Wild West, yeah.
Totally different. That's a tough one to crack, though, that really is.
It wasn't a tough one to crack, but what I didn't like was all of the negative aspects of it. There's quite a lot of underhanded behaviour in the music industry, I think, whereas in property, people are kind of a lot more straightforward. Yeah. So as a waking up every day, what am I comfortable doing? I was a lot more comfortable with property. So
how did you get involved in the Charles Gordon Awards then? Because this is what happened.
Yeah, so I think the main issue that I saw was in society, I think across the board, whenever there's anything bad that happens, there's a huge emphasis on it. And what I think happens, especially in socially or economically deprived areas, the only way that people are really going to make a success of themselves is ultimately by doing bad or being seen to be doing bad. And I think that in itself, to me, sits as a core problem. So what I wanted to do with the awards was kind of highlight the good. So it was more about looking at all of the people that are doing amazing things in society and basically putting some recognition on them so that people can aspire to be good as opposed to aspiring to be bad, because I think that's a major part of why people do what they do. And I think if you see things, you can achieve them. And I don't think there's enough emphasis on the good that people do. I mean, in sports, you see it on TV. Music, again, you see it, but you don't see it in business. You don't see it in all of the... There's so many different environments that people are doing amazing things at a social level. So even down to taking care of the homeless and things like that. But they don't get any money for it. And my reasoning was, if they don't even get any acknowledgement for it, why are they going to carry on? And those are the people that really create the kind of core of our society, because it's those, for want of a better phrase, do-gooders, that make society a nicer place, let's say. And I don't think there's enough, I don't think they get enough for it, so that was one of the main reasons. But then at the same time, I figured an award ceremony purely around that wouldn't be as interesting, so then that's when we brought in the celebrity element. So it's kind of, I think if I had to describe the awards, it would be kind of Mobo / Pride of Britain, is kind of where we're at with it.
I see. And it was a very interesting ceremony, which I didn't manage to get to because I work. It's like I work on the weekend.
It's allowed.
I work on the weekend. Yes, but you had quite a few different categories on that award ceremony, didn't you?
Yes. It was an amazing turnout. We had about 1,500 people, I think, on the night. It was an amazing turnout. We had a lot of categories. We had performances from So Solid. We had Omar there. We had, oh gosh, I can't remember.
Richard Blackwood hosting it.
Richard Blackwood hosting. Kaz Crosley was also on the show as a co-host. I mean, it was an amazing night. We had a really good time, And while I'm mentioning that, it's because on the night, I don't know, well, I'm sure you're aware that you received our TV Presenter Excellence Award. But you weren't able to make it. So what I've done is I've brought it with me, and I have it here. And I'd like to formally present this to you. All right?
Come here, a bit at the back.
And here you go, my darling.
Thank you very much.
Formally accept your TV Presenter Excellence Award from the Charles Gordon Trust.
Or a speech. I'd like to dedicate this to myself. I need to cry now as well, because that's what people do. But there were quite a lot of people in this category there, weren't there?
Yes.
It was voted for by the people.
Do you know what? You did amazing. If I'm honest, from memory, I think it was you received in excess of 8,000 votes.
No.
Yep.
From the public voting for me.
From the public, yep. And that's one of the major parts, actually. The way these awards are structured is people are nominated. Once they're nominated, it goes to a public vote, and whoever wins the public vote gets the award. And yeah, I think you won it by a landslide. It wasn't
Really?
It wasn't even a small amount.
Oh my God! Thank you so much.
No, you did amazingly well. And we've also, because you weren't there to celebrate with us on the night, we figured we'd just also provide you with something to celebrate with.
Oh wow!
Which
Look at
comes
that.
fully equipped with brochures and all sorts. But yeah, it's your own bottle of Dom Perignon.
Dom Perignon. Oh, I don't think I've ever had one of those. Thank you.
Vintage bottle, I might add.
Oh my God! I want to drop it on my way out. You know, that's the sort of that's how I roll. Oh, this is stunning. Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you so much for bringing in and coming in and doing me the award.
And thank you for doing the amazing work that you're doing, because it's important. I think that I think it's important for other people to see what can be achieved and what can be done. And I think the more people that are setting the pace, the more people then follow in their footsteps, and that's what creates the next generation.
Wow, so 8,000, loads of people. Thank you so much, people, for voting for me. I do appreciate that. That's amazing. Look at this. Look at this. Yeah. I'm not one of those people that goes, oh, it was so sad. I'm like, yeah, bring it on. Yeah. And if I had lost, I would have gone, there would have been an angry face.
Oh, okay. No, that's allowed. That's allowed.
There would have been a face.
We've got to want to win. We've got to want to win, otherwise why play?
Exactly. So what's next for you then, Charles?
Well, we've got another award ceremony coming up next year. I mean, we're also, with the Trust, another thing that for me was one of the core parts is education. So we're in the process now of setting up what we've called the Boss Academy, which is the Business Opportunity Superstar. And it's kind of like, I think, Apprentice meets Dragon's Den. So we're going to be basically taking students, filming them for the whole year while they're doing the studying. It'll be a practical education on business, because our objective is to create the next generation of entrepreneurs. So we don't just want to teach them, we want to give them a practical out at the end. So at the end of the course, we're working in association with Pentecostal Credit Bank.
Amazing.
And they'll be funding the business ideas of the individuals. And then the award ceremony we're doing in July next year. So we've opened nominations for that now as well. So yeah, we've got a lot doing. We've got a lot doing. The plan is to just keep it busy and keep it moving.
Well, thank you very much, Charles. It's so good of you to come in, and thank you very much for my award. Thank you to the people who voted for me. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to my mum, my dad, TV News for giving me the platform, and everybody who's watching and listening right now. Thank you so much. And thank you, Charles, for coming in to see me.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Well, listen, good luck with everything. If people want to get involved, is there a website or somewhere they can go?
Yes. So cgtawards.co.uk is the awards for nominations. So anyone like yourself or anyone who they feel needs to be acknowledged for the work they're doing in the community, get on board and nominate them. If they want to get involved in the university aspect, the Boss University, I think that's bossuni.co.uk. I could be wrong, but they're all through the Charles Gordon Trust website anyway. So if we click on that, then it'll take us hopefully to everywhere they need to go. All right.
Listen, Charles, thank you so much for coming in to join me. Thank you so much for my award. Listen, vote for me next time as well. I want to be like the Ant and Dec. Nobody ever gets to win this one. I win it every time, people. Charles Gordon,
as I said, it was a landslide victory.
Thank you, Charles Gordon, entrepreneur and author. Thank you so much for joining me here on GB News. It's fast approaching 31 minutes after 5 o'clock. This is GB News. We're live on TV, online and on digital radio. I'm Nana Akua. On the way, my panel will return. There's loads still to discuss. But first, let's get your latest news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.